In love stories, there are relationships that society accepts and praises. But then, there are forbidden loves, considered immoral and taboo. Among these, the love between siblings is one of the most severely condemned. What happens when such a love crosses boundaries? In this video, we'll explore a tragic case that took place in Australia in 2011, a story of forbidden love that led to devastating consequences. This tale not only shocked the small community of Willowbrook, but also serves as a stark reminder of the boundaries that should never be crossed. One resident of Willowbrook recalled, "We were all so close-knit. You'd never think something like this could happen here. It was like a story from a nightmare, unfolding right in our backyard." This sentiment captures the disbelief and horror that spread through the town as the details of the tragedy came to light. Please take a brief moment to subscribe to our channel for your daily dose of shocking true crime stories. Let's move on. Australia, a land known for its serene landscapes and close-knit communities, was home to the Whitmore family. They lived in Willowbrook, a quiet town where everyone knew each other. David Whitmore, a devoted father, had raised his two children, Ethan and Lila, after the tragic death of their mother. The family led a peaceful life, and Ethan and Lila, though very young when they lost their mother, grew up in a home filled with love and care. Their bond as siblings was strong, perhaps too strong. Neighbors often commented on how inseparable Ethan and Lila were. "They were more than just siblings. They were best friends," said Mrs. Clark, who lived next door. David was so proud of how close they were after their mother's death. It was like they were all he had left, and he held on to them tightly. Ethan, born in 1993, was the first child of the Whitmore family. From an early age, he was intelligent and sensitive. Lila, born 2 years later, was lively and gentle. As they grew up, the two siblings were inseparable. They played together, explored the fields around their home, and supported each other through their studies. Ethan, with dreams of becoming a doctor, and Lila, with aspirations of being an artist, were each other's biggest supporters. But as they entered their teenage years, their bond began to shift in ways neither expected. Family friends noted the intense closeness between the siblings. "Ethan was always protective of Lila," said Mr. Evans, a family friend. "He'd look out for her in a way that was almost fatherly. We all thought it was sweet, but maybe we missed the signs that something more was developing between them." As Ethan turned 19 and Lila 17, their relationship began to change. Ethan, who had always been the protective older brother, started to notice Lila in a different light. She had grown into a beautiful young woman, and his feelings for her began to blur the lines between brotherly love and something much deeper. One afternoon, Ethan acted on these feelings, kissing Lila on the cheek in a moment of overwhelming emotion. This innocent act marked the beginning of a secret and forbidden love that they both knew was wrong, yet couldn't resist. Lila's childhood friend, Sarah, later reflected on their relationship, saying, "Lila once confided in me that she felt different around Ethan. She said it was confusing, but she couldn't stop it. I wish I'd realized how serious it was. Maybe things could have turned out differently." Their love for each other grew in secrecy, but with it came guilt and fear. Ethan and Lila found themselves constantly torn between their intense emotions and the overwhelming knowledge that their relationship was forbidden. They stole moments together, exchanged secret letters, and spent nights under the moonlight, where they could escape the judgmental eyes of the world. However, the consequences of their actions soon became undeniable. Lila discovered she was pregnant, a realization that brought both joy and terror. When she shared the news with Ethan, the reality of their situation hit him hard. Overcome with fear and guilt, Ethan suggested that Lila have an abortion, but she refused, feeling betrayed by the only person she trusted. As the weight of their secret grew heavier, so did the strain on their mental and emotional well-being. Lila, now carrying the evidence of their forbidden love, found herself consumed by anxiety. She began to withdraw from her friends and even from her father, David, who noticed a change in her demeanor but couldn't understand its cause. "She used to be so open, so full of life," Mr. McAllister, a family friend, remembered. "But in those last few months, It was like a shadow had fallen over her. She stopped coming to our weekly gatherings, and when she did show up, she was distant, almost haunted. Ethan, too, struggled under the burden of their secret. His dreams of becoming a doctor, once so clear and attainable, began to fade as the reality of their situation took hold. He became increasingly paranoid, fearing that someone would discover their secret and expose them to the world. Every time I saw him, he seemed more on edge, said his friend Kyle. He stopped talking about his plans for the future, and there was this constant tension in his voice, like he was carrying a weight too heavy for him to bear. Lila's pregnancy added another layer of complexity to their already strained relationship. The two were now faced with an impossible decision: continue hiding and living in fear, or confront the truth and face the inevitable fallout. The pressure became too much for them to bear, and their once unbreakable bond began to crack under the strain. In one particularly emotional confrontation, Lila begged Ethan to stand by her side and accept their fate together. "We can't keep hiding forever," she pleaded. "This is our child, our love. If we face this together, maybe, just maybe, we can find a way." But Ethan, terrified of the repercussions, could only see one way out, one that would lead to an even darker path. The tension between them reached a breaking point. On the night of September 10th, 2011, Ethan asked Lila to join him for a drive, hoping to discuss their future. They drove to Whispering Pines Forest, a place filled with childhood memories. But as they walked under the dim moonlight, Ethan, consumed by fear and desperation, made a tragic decision. He attacked Lila, killing her in a moment of madness. After burying her body in a secluded part of the forest, Ethan returned home, trying to cover up his crime by reporting Lila missing the next day. "I remember hearing about them driving off together that night," said Mr. Holloway, a former teacher of Ethan's. "It was supposed to be just another drive, but it ended up being the last time anyone saw Lila alive." Ethan's actions that night changed everything. Lila's body was discovered a few days later, sending shockwaves through Willowbrook. The peaceful town that had once been a safe haven was now the site of a tragic and horrifying crime. As the police began their investigation, it didn't take long for the layers of this dark secret to be peeled back. Lila's diary, found hidden in her bedroom, became a crucial piece of evidence. It was filled with confessions of her forbidden love for Ethan and the agony she endured knowing that their relationship was something the world could never accept. Faced with the overwhelming evidence and the looming threat of a DNA test on the unborn child, Ethan's resolve crumbled. During intense questioning, the once composed and confident young man broke down and confessed to the crime, detailing every harrowing moment that led up to Lila's tragic death. His confession not only shocked the investigators but also shattered the Whitmore family, leaving David Whitmore, their father, in utter despair. In the days following the confession, the small town of Willowbrook struggled to come to terms with the reality that one of their own had committed such a heinous act. "When I heard that Ethan confessed, it felt like the ground had been pulled out from under us," said Mrs. Jenkins, a neighbor. "We all knew Ethan as this bright, promising young man. To find out that he was capable of something so dark, it was unimaginable." The diary also painted a picture of Lila's internal turmoil as she grappled with her feelings for Ethan. In one particularly heart-wrenching entry, she wrote, "I know what we have is wrong, but my heart cannot help but love him. I am trapped between my love for Ethan and the world's hatred for what we are." These words, once private and hidden, now echoed through the halls of the police station as detectives and townspeople alike tried to make sense of the unthinkable. As news of the diary and the confession spread, the media descended upon Willowbrook, turning the quiet town into the epicenter of national attention. The unfolding drama captivated the country, with headlines questioning how such a close-knit family could fall apart so tragically. The Whitmore case became a symbol of the dangers of crossing boundaries that should never be crossed, and the devastating consequences that can follow. Ethan Whitmore's trial took place in December 2011, attracting nationwide attention. The evidence was damning. Lila's diary, the forensic findings, and Ethan's own confession left no room for doubt. Ethan was convicted of premeditated murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This tragic case left a deep scar on the community of Willowbrook and serves as a harsh reminder of the devastating consequences of crossing moral and legal boundaries. "I don't think the town will ever fully recover," said Mayor Johnson. "We've all been changed by what happened. It's a reminder that even in the most peaceful places, darkness can lurk beneath the surface." The story of Ethan and Lila Whitmore is a tragic reminder of the dangers that arise when we cross moral and legal boundaries. Their forbidden love not only led to a heartbreaking loss, but also destroyed the lives of those around them. This case underscores the importance of understanding and respecting the lines that should never be crossed, no matter how strong the emotions involved. What do you think about the impact of taboo relationships within families? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this video resonated with you, please consider giving it a like, subscribing to our channel, and turning on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any of our future deep dives into other shocking and tragic cases. Thank you for watching.